Hey gals and guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Confessions of a New Age Goddess. As always, I'm your host, the New Age Goddess herself, Melissa. In this week's episode, we're going to talk all about, you guessed it, the dream world. Okay, so now, many of you may be saying, Melissa, I have really weird dreams that don't make sense, or I have trouble falling asleep, or, simply put, I don't dream at all. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, my friends. You definitely do dream every night, whether you remember it or not. I'm also going to give you some tips and tricks to help you better remember and then interpret your dreams. And for my nocturnal friends, I will also give you some pointers on how to fall asleep in an easier manner. All right, so let's jump right in. So to get started, you need to be able to fall asleep. I mean, that's kind of goes hand in hand with dreaming. So some tips for my friends who have trouble falling asleep is kind of get yourself situated before you go to bed. So some obvious things would be, of course, unplug your electronics. Don't have any of that light kind of affecting your eyes because that could, make you stay up at night. And also make an intention before you go to sleep. Say, hey, this time that I dedicate towards sleeping, that's exactly what's going to happen during that time. I'm going to fall asleep. And kind of get out all of the things and all of the thoughts that might be bothering you, that might be keeping you up at night first. So a really easy way to do that is to journal about whatever is bothering you, meditate prior to falling asleep so that you kind of go to bed with a clear mind. And a good meditation to do before you go to bed would be listening to any binaural beats. Of course, you can find this on YouTube. Binaural beats are essentially certain hertz frequencies that can get you to certain states of being. And there's some that, can help you fall asleep. There's some that can help you clear your mind. So I would really try that out prior to going to sleep. And then just in terms of a holistic approach, another really good thing you can do is get some lavender oil. That's famous for helping people fall asleep. You can rub some on certain parts of your body, your wrist, behind your ears. You can put it in a spray bottle, spray it on your pillow, or just, take a little sniff of it before you go to bed, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Then another thing that I've noticed that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about, or they're not aware of it, is the full moon can really have an effect on your sleep patterns. I think we all know, the full moon can make you crazy, or, hospitals really fill up during a full moon, but people never talk about how the gravitational pull on the earth, and due to the fact that it is so close to the earth, also affects your sleep patterns, because essentially what happens is it affects the way water is kind of being pulled from the moon in our own bodies, much how the moon affects the tides of the waves. So it's that general concept. So I have some people who say, whenever I'm super unable to fall asleep and I look outside my window, it's always a full moon and it keeps me up and it's so bright and it really bothers my sleep. And I feel like that's a lot of people. Myself, I'm the opposite. Whenever it's a full moon, kind of like the day or two leading up before it as well, I'm so exhausted. Like, I'm tired during the day. I need to take naps. It has an opposite effect on me. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I mean, we're all different, but that is something to kind of keep in mind too. If you are someone who doesn't have problems sleeping and then all of a sudden you do, just take note of what phase the moon is in. It's kind of just another tool to have in your toolbox so that you can kind of make sense of why certain things are happening to you. And that's really what this whole podcast is every episode I just really talk about some tools, some tips and tricks so that you guys can kind of take ownership of, your dreams, of your auras, whatever it may be, and then you can kind of get to know yourself a little bit better by using these tips and tricks, and also being able to incorporate it in a daily practice. Okay, so that's my little advice for people who have problems sleeping. Then the next stage is we need to know how sleep works. So just to kind of give a brief synopsis of that, when we fall asleep, we go through different sleep pattern waves, if you will. And I'm going to take you through each one, starting with the most conscious wave until the deepest wave. So essentially, when you start out, when you first go to bed and you're trying to fall asleep, you're going to be at that beta wave, right? You're still going to be awake. You're still going to be conscious. You're still going to be able to do a cognitive task if needed. You're alert. You're engaged. You're focused. You could still solve a problem if you needed to, right? And this is also where you have increased memory. So that's kind of the most hertz. We're kind of vibrating at a high frequency here. Okay, so now you're kind of stepping away from the beta. You're starting to relax a little bit. Now we're getting to the alpha stage. This is also known as the daydreaming stage. This is where you're kind of a little bit out of it. You know, you might be having some interesting thoughts, but you're still awake. I mean, you're still not asleep yet, but you're getting there. You're kind of like drifting off into sleep, if you will. This is also the time when you would be feeling very relaxed. This is when you're kind of like in that mindfulness state. You know, you aren't really focused on problems so much, but just kind of, you know, the present moment. This is also a state that you would be in if you're in, you know, very low anxiety, maybe you're meditating. That's this state. All right, now we're going to go one layer deeper into the sleep cycle. Now we're at the theta waves phase. This is also where you're in a deeper meditation. This is where creative ideas are going to kind of come out because you kind of went one step deeper than daydreaming, and now these creative ideas that maybe started in the daydreaming phase are getting a little bit more colorful. They're getting a little bit more imaginative, if you will. And this is also where REM sleep is going to start. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and this is where dreams can kind of start. They're going to start materializing in this phase. All right, now we're going to get into the deepest level of sleep. This is going to be our delta waves. This is deep REM stage. This is deep rapid eye movement stage. You're at a lower frequency because we started at a very high frequency. Things are kind of more settled. The frequency that can be best described at this stage would be that of a deep drum beat. So that dun, 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 that kind of frequency. We're not going fast, you know, it's not fast paced anymore. This is where, yes, you're asleep, but also if you're at a very deep stage of meditation, it would also be at that delta stage. And the last two stages too, theta and delta, this is where you get your REM sleep, and this is when very vivid dreams occur. You know, the deeper the wave, the more vivid and colorful the dream will become. Okay, so that's kind of a little synopsis of how you would get through the different stages of sleep. But now maybe you're saying, Melissa, you know, I can get to sleep, but I wake up in the middle of the night, and I usually wake up at the same time. It's very common, you know, if you are someone who does wake up in the middle of the night, it's going to be usually around the same time every night. That's just how your body kind of operates, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. Also, another thing before I explain to note is the time that you wake up can change. For example, when I was younger, I would always wake up at a certain time at night. A few years later, now I do always wake up at night. It's a different time. You know, things with my body change, things on an emotional level, a mental level, a physical level, they changed. So this ended up changing as well. So I just want to go through with you the most popular, times to wake up in the middle of the night and what that means for you. And once you know why you're waking up at a certain time at night, you can kind of see what can be done about it so that you can lessen that. Because it's not fun to wake up in the middle of the night. I think we could all agree it would be better if we didn't have to. And I'm going to kind of show you how you can overcome that. Okay, so first we're going to start with waking up at 1 a.m. This is when you are at your deepest level of sleep. If you go to bed at a traditional time, let's say, 10:30, because you're going to wake up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's just kind of ballpark it at that. So yes, 1 a.m., if you wake up during this time, the reasons why could be that you're either worried or you're holding resentment about something. When you go to bed, that's what's going on in your subconscious, and that is really what is waking you up, essentially. So my advice for folks who wake up at that time would be, before you go to bed, do some reading, do some stretching, and listen to some ambient tones, and that will kind of get you to a state where the worrying and the resentment holding is going to get turned off before you go to bed, so it won't be waking you up in the middle of the night. Okay, then the next time to wake up is 2 a.m. At 2 a.m., this is when your muscles regenerate, So this is very important, especially for your physical body. So the reason why you would wake up at this time is if your body is tense about something physically. This could be from too much physical activity. You overexerted yourself that day maybe, and your muscles are tight now, and it's causing you to wake up. So my advice for those folks would be, take a bath before you go to bed. Get a massage, even if it's a handheld massage or whatever, before you go to bed, and also do some aromatherapy. Certain types of aromas are going to relax your muscles, especially, if you rub it into your skin or put it in your bath. So then that way you're not being woken up for that reason. Okay, then the next time that you could wake up is 3 a.m. This is usually due to having liver problems, because this is the time at night where your body is eliminating toxins. So this could be, hey, you drank too much before you went to bed. Your liver is not processing the toxins correctly. So my advice for these folks would be to definitely try to eat healthier overall, and don't eat too late at night or too close to your bedtime, because now your body is trying to digest things and it's having a hard time doing so, and now it's keeping you up at night. Okay, then the next time would be 4 a.m. During this time, this is when your lungs are regenerating. So a lot of times people who wake up during this time, they either have asthma, they could also have depression. Interestingly enough, a guy I used to work with, he said that he always woke up at 4 a.m. in the middle of the night. And I asked him, I said, do you have any respiratory problems? And he's like, oh, I have asthma. And I just said, oh, well, there you go. That just proves my point. And I just thought that was interesting that, he didn't know that was why he was waking up, but that now he knew that. So, you have asthma. It's something you kind of live with. I understand that, but it kind of gave him a reason as to why he was waking up, because he wasn't sure why that was happening. So either way, my advice for people who wake up during this time would be to make sure that you are sleeping in a cool environment. I think a lot of people prefer to sleep in a cooler environment regardless, but it prevents you from sweating, and that can really just kind of aggravate being able to breathe properly. And also another good tip or tips would be to do some stretching, some reading prior to going to bed. Think happy thoughts, especially for people who have depression, because that is the reason why you're waking up at that time. And then the last time would be 5 a.m. This is a time when your body digests. So if you're someone who has stomach problems, or you don't eat well, or you're eating a really heavy meal before you go to bed, or you're hungry before you go to bed, you're going to have problems. You're going to wake up during this time. So my advice would be, of course, don't eat too late at night or don't go to bed hungry, because you're just making the food that is in your stomach or isn't in your stomach either harder to digest, or it has nothing to digest, and that's upsetting it as well. Okay, so now if you wake up during those times or within those time frames, you kind of have an idea as to why that is. And I just gave you advice on what to do to overcome that. And it's just something to be aware of. The more that you understand yourself and why certain things are happening, the more you can help yourself and help others. And I think that's really, kind of the first step over overcoming anything. And when you have that information in your arsenal, it just makes you that much more powerful and taking control to lead the life that you want to lead. Okay, now we're going to get into some fun stuff. So another thing that could be happening to you while you're sleeping is astral travel or astral projection. So that's essentially where you have an OBE, so out-of-body experience, where your astral body, but not your physical body, is leaving this dimension and it's traveling to other dimensions in the universe. Anyone can astral travel. Yes, it is easier for some people than others. Some people just automatically doing it without setting an intention. But if you do want to astral travel, all you really need to do before you go to bed is, set that intention. Set the intention that you want to astral travel. Listen to some, YouTube videos on astral travel and visualize yourself leaving your body. So kind of visualize your soul leaving your body. And it doesn't have to be creepy. Just kind of, your astral body just kind of coming out of your body as you're falling asleep, and then kind of see what materializes from that. Yeah, you're probably going to have to do that a few times before it actually works. But just kind of, see what that feels like. If you are interested in doing it, it is easier than it sounds. And then you can kind of, maybe go to different dimensions and do some work there. I'm really, a firm believer that when we do go to sleep at night and we are dreaming, that these dreams we're having are in other dimensions. Sometimes they're dimensions that look exactly like the one that we live in. Sometimes there are ones that don't look anything like the dimension we're currently living in. But due to the fact that there are many dimensions, and whether, you want to believe it or not, there are many dimensions. So why wouldn't we be doing work in other dimensions when we're sleeping? That makes perfect sense to me. And I feel like I get so much done in my dreams, even if it's something that seems kind of silly. Maybe it really needs to get done in that dimension, or maybe it's something where I'm kind of working through something in another dimension. And another way to kind of look at that would be nightmares. I'm someone who does get a lot of nightmares, and at first it was something that really bothered me. I'm like, why does this always happen? I'll have the occasional good or regular dream as well, but I have a lot of nightmares. And I kind of came to the realization after a while is that I was working out emotions and issues in this present life through the nightmares. I was getting over fears. I was maybe going through a tough time in a nightmare so that I could kind of fight my demons, if you will, in the dream, so that when I wake up in the morning, I kind of feel like, I overcame something. I overcame something and I didn't have to learn it the hard way because it was just in a dream. It's not going to affect my present day, but yet it does, but in a good way, So it's kind of like learning a lesson through someone else as opposed to having to learn it on your own in waking life. So yeah, my nightmares always kind of gave me clues about myself, because it is your subconscious fears talking to you. And it kind of always gave me really valuable information that I can take with me. So nightmares are not things that I fear anymore. I welcome the challenge, and I really look at it as a growth opportunity. Okay, and then another fun topic would be lucid dreaming. So this also happens when you are in that rapid eye movement or REM movement stage of dreaming. And this is where the dreamer has control over the dream. This is where you can pick and choose what happens in that dream. And that's kind of a fun little thing as well. So it's kind of like those choose your own adventure books where there's, you're at a stage in the book and you have a couple different options to choose from in terms of where you want to go next in the story. It's like, yeah, turn to page 35 and you can be eaten by a dragon, or turn to page 69 and, you'll meet your prince. So those are kind of fun. Again, you can definitely learn how to do that by setting intentions before you go to sleep and listening to recordings about lucid dreaming. Also, lucid dreaming, don't want to confuse it with liquid dreaming, which is a terrible song by O-Town, but we don't need to talk about that. But yeah, lucid is different from liquid. All right, okay, and we're moving along to the next session. So now you're going to say, Melissa, I believe you. I probably have dreams. I'm sleeping okay, but I do not remember my dreams. How are you going to interpret a dream if you can't remember it? So I'm going to give you some tips on how to better remember your dreams. First thing, before you go to sleep, again, set the intention that you're going to remember your dream. A good way of doing this is picking out a couple of mantras. A popular one is, I can easily remember my dreams. You're telling your subconscious that you have no problem remembering your dreams, so you can do it, right? Another cool thing that you can do before you go to sleep is have your dreams work for you. So let's say that you're really wrestling with some problem. You can say a mantra before you go to sleep like, please help me with this dream, or please help me with this problem. And essentially what's going to happen is your subconscious will try to work out the problem that you have in waking life through the dream. So maybe it'll give you some insight, maybe it will give you an answer. You don't know what's going to come from it, but it's definitely a good way to kind of get a possible solution to a problem. I mean, why not, right? Then another thing that's really good to do if you want to try to remember your dreams is before you go to sleep, pick a symbol that you would like to see in the dream. So before you go to sleep, you can say the mantra, I would like to see a pink frog in my dreams tonight. That's just an example. Ask for a very distinctive symbol so that when you do see it in your dream, you're going to realize, oh, hey, I am dreaming. Let me try to remember this. Let me try to, take note of what's going on. And it's also kind of cool that you were able to manifest a symbol in your dream as well. So that's kind of a twofold one right there. Then another really cool thing you can do, this kind of goes hand in hand with lucid dreaming, is you can set the intention on what you want to see in the dream, because when you're lucid dreaming, you're able to control the dream. But what type of dream do you want to have where you would have control? So in that case, you could set a mantra like, I would like to have an experience with a certain person that I like, insert name here, whatever you want it to be. And then you're kind of guaranteeing yourself a good dream for that night if you practice that. And what I always thought would be really cool is, like, let's say you have a dream about somebody because, you manifested wanting to have a dream with this person. And then let's say you see them the next day and ask them if they're tired or not. Kind of like take notice. Be like, hey, man, did you sleep okay last night? I did, blah, blah, blah. And see if they're also tired, because that whole like saying, oh, if you can't sleep, it's because you're awake in someone else's dreams. I have no clue if that's true or not. I mean, I don't know the science behind that, but I just always thought it would be so cool if I manifest a dream about someone, I see them the next day and they're exhausted for no reason. I would be like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like, I don't know why you're tired. Like, I mean, I definitely had nothing to do with this, but I just, maybe try it. Let me know how that goes. It's an interesting concept to play with. Okay, and then kind of what I was talking about earlier with manifesting in your dreams. I mean, dreams should not be a waste of time. You sleep for 1/3 of your life. So I really suggest using this time productively. I mean, I even remember there was a Seinfeld episode where Kramer said that exact thing. You sleep 1/3 of your life. So then he was like not sleeping for the whole episode because he wanted to be more productive. I don't think I would handle it that way. I would advise against that. But the man, Cosmo Kramer, did have a point that he felt like that time sleeping was being wasted, which we know it's not. Your body needs it, blah, blah, blah. It's for your health. But what I'm saying is sleep, get all the benefits of that, and then also manifest while you are sleeping. So kind of like what I was saying before, it can help. Your sleep can help you with a problem. It can help you with astral travel. It can help you, let's see, what else? Kind of cultivate a dream life, if you will. So why not do all these types of things while you're sleeping? Why waste it? You can make that time more productive. Okay, and then my last tip for helping you remember your dreams is, let's say you do wake up in the middle of the night after you had a dream. Keep a dream journal by your bedside. Write down whatever you can remember. I don't care if your handwriting's messy. I don't care if you can hardly read it. I don't care if you're just writing down 2 words. Write it down. You can always interpret it in the morning. And also, I don't know if this happens to other people, but a lot of times I will get a song stuck in my head while I am in a dream. And when I wake up, even if it is in the middle of the night, I hear this song, right? I will get out of bed, look up the song and play the song. And then, in the morning when you have more time, you can interpret the song, look up the lyrics, see what the song meaning is, kind of dissect the lyrics. And then that can be an additional set of interpretation right there. And also when you're having dreams, or maybe you're getting messages at night or a song, this can also be messages from your spirit guides. So I would just keep that in mind too. You don't know that it is from a dream or from a spirit guide. It could be a combination of both. I don't really know, but it's just something to kind of add to your toolbox. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next section, which is the fun part, dream interpretation. Okay, now obviously I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about what every single symbol and every single dream could ever possibly mean. But I am going to give you the meaning of some general symbols and then just some things to look out for when you're actually in a dream or you actually do remember it the next morning. Okay, so first things first, kind of like what I said earlier, do keep a dream journal. Keep it by your bedside. I've had one since I was a teenager, and it's just so cool to look back at dreams that you had so many years ago that I would have never remembered unless I wrote it down the morning I woke up. And it's so cool to relive the dreams and to also see how I interpreted them, to see where I was at that stage of my life and what was going on and why I was having dreams like that. And if any of them were premonitions, why was I having this dream where I got into a car accident, and what ended up happening a couple weeks later, maybe I didn't literally get into a car accident, but something came crashing. That's just a quick example, but it's just interesting to see, and it has also been interesting to see how much better I've gotten at dream interpretation throughout the years too, because, it's really just repetition. It's really just learning how to just dissect things and seeing, hey, why am I constantly seeing the same symbol night after night? And then all of a sudden I'm not seeing it anymore. Now I'm seeing a different symbol. And what does that mean? And I mean, it's just a really cool kind of process to go through. All right. And then, of course, to interpret these symbols, you can look it up online. I have a dream dictionary as well that I refer to because I trust the source of it. And it's also cool to have a dictionary because sometimes when you type in a dream symbol, let's say you have a dream about a dog and you just type in the word dog and it'll tell you something. When you have an actual dictionary, it's all kind of there in front of you. And when you look up the word dog, it will say, oh, was it an aggressive dog? Was it a big dog? Was it a white dog? It'll get very detailed like that for you. So then you can kind of get more detailed with your explanation of what happened in the dream too. It just kind of sparks more questions that then leads to more information, which is really powerful and important when you are interpreting. Okay, and then of course certain symbols have certain meanings, and two very different symbols in the same dream can have the same meaning. This has happened to me where I had two symbols that in real life would not mean the same thing at all, but in this dream, when I looked up the interpretation for each one, it meant the same thing. So that just kind of reinforced the meaning of those symbols for that dream for me specifically. Another thing is sometimes different combinations of symbols will affect each other differently. So maybe I'll have a symbol of one thing and another thing, and those two things together mean something. But then I'll have one of those symbols and then another third symbol, and that combination of those two mean an entirely different thing. So that's something to look out for too. Okay, and then some really common symbols that a lot of people have in a dream. Just for example, teeth falling out. That's always a bad omen. Does that mean your teeth are literally going to fall out? No, but it does usually mean something bad is going to happen. So just kind of keep your eyes open for that. Another one is if you dream of a fish, that usually means pregnancy. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be pregnant, but maybe somebody else will be. And also, pregnancy can also mean pregnant with a new idea, pregnant with a new possibility, a new stage of life, a rebirth, if you will. So, you got to kind of be a little bit open in terms of interpretation and see how it works for you specifically or the people in your life. Another symbol that I've been getting a lot of is a snake. And I think a lot of people would think, oh, a snake, that's an evil animal, something like that. No, that's not what it means at all. I personally really resonate with snakes in terms of it being a spirit animal for me. And what snakes really mean are transformation, rebirth, creativity. So when I see a snake in a dream, I know that's what it means for me. I know it's a positive thing and that I'm on the right track. Okay, so those are just some common images that you may or may not get. And another thing to look at outside of symbols is what else was going on in the dream. What colors did you see in the dream? Each color means something unique. What season was it in the dream? I had a dream the other night that it was winter. The fact that it was winter in my dream means something. What location were you at in the dream? I had a dream that I was crossing a bridge. Oh, that is loaded with information, just that one piece alone. Another thing is, how did you feel in the dream? Were you happy? Were you excited? Were you scared? Were you apprehensive? Did your feelings change throughout the dream? Another really cool symbol is transportation. So were you in a car? And if you were in a car, were you driving? Were you the passenger? Were you in the back seat? All of these things are very important to note as well. And then another thing to look at would be the people in the dream. Apparently every person that you see in a dream is someone that you've seen in waking life, even if it's just someone passing on the street. And apparently if you don't recognize a person, that means it's a ghost watching you while you're sleeping. I don't know about that. I don't have, research to back that up, but that's just what I've heard. Another thing to look at in the dream is, are you wearing clothes? Are you not wearing clothes? I mean, I have dreams quite often where I'm naked, and of course that means something too. And how old are you in the dream? Are you your present age? Is everyone else in the dream who you recognize at their present age? Are you a child? Are you an old person? And another really cool thing to note is, if you're in a house, what room are you in the house? Because each room has a different meaning as well. Because the different rooms of a house are going to represent different emotions. So that's something that you want to take note of too. And also, another symbol that correlates to emotions is water. And I think we can kind of see how that would work out. Is it calm waters? Is it rocky waters? That represents our emotions too. Okay, and now I'm just going to give you a quick example of a dream I had recently, and it does have to do with a song. So what happened was, I was having a dream. I got woken up in the middle of the night from the dream, and when I woke up, the Lil Wayne song, "A Milli," was playing. And I'm not going to play the song because copyright issues, but I think we all know this song, "A Milli." And when you look up the word milli, it means either milligram or 1,000. Okay, that didn't resonate with me, so I had to keep researching. I looked up the lyrics of the song. I looked up what Lil Wayne wanted the song to mean. I mean, I did the research. And I kept looking up. I'm like, no, milli. Milli has to mean something. I kept hearing that. I mean, I know he says it a bunch of times in the song, but this was really important. So I looked up another meaning to the word milli besides the ones I mentioned already. And milli, M-I-L-L-I, means helper to a priest, bee, honey, Melissa. What is my name, you guys? My name is Melissa, and my name has a Greek origin to it, which means honey bee. So right away when I saw bee honey, I was already like, well, that's what my name means. And then it said Melissa next to it. So essentially what was happening when I was listening to the song or hearing the song in my dream, it literally woke me up, and it was basically just saying my name. I just kept saying Melissa, 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 to wake me up, to kind of be cognizant of what was going on in that dream, so that I would remember it. It's basically like the dream woke me up with the song so that I would better remember the dream, so that I could write it down, so that I could interpret it, so that I could get the message. So that was a really roundabout way of getting my attention instead of just saying my name, but it worked. It worked for me. I eventually got the message the next day, and that kind of stuff could happen for you too. It probably has already been happening, and maybe you didn't even notice it, but I was wise enough to know, hey, I gotta wake up, I gotta walk around, I gotta remember the song, I gotta write it down, and I gotta interpret it the next day. Okay, now another way to kind of decipher your dream would be to think about what you were doing the previous day. So the day before you had a dream, what were you doing? This is so important because this is going to give you so many clues and insights to the meaning. And now I know what a lot of you are going to say. You're going to be like, well, it was a regular day the day before. I just went to work, la-di-da. No. We need to get a little bit deeper than that. No 2 days are the same. I don't care what you say. So the day that you went to work, did maybe you have an interesting conversation with a coworker in the break room? Did maybe you hop on the phone with a friend, and your friend gave you a compliment, for example. Let's just say they gave you a compliment. That's something so small, it's not really notable, but in this situation it is. So let's just say that you were on a phone call with a friend, they gave you a compliment. That's going to make you realize you hold greater value than you originally thought, at least in your subconscious. You know, someone told you you're good at something. Someone told you, hey, you're really good at painting. Your subconscious heard that. So now your subconscious holds you at a higher standard, and that's going to translate in a dream. So then when you have a dream that night, maybe it's going to correlate to your value. Maybe in your dream, you're going to win an award. Maybe in your dream, you know, someone's going to grant you a lot of money and you're going to be like, oh, am I going to get a lot of money? Well, I don't know about that because like I said, dreams aren't literal, but that could have been why you're getting that dream. So that's just something to keep in mind, something to play with. Hey, what was I doing the day before? And why is that coming into my dream? And how is it coming into my dream as well? Okay, and then the thing that I keep driving home is please don't take things literally. You know, just because you have a dream that you got pregnant doesn't mean you're going to get pregnant. I highly doubt that. If you had a dream about a fish, then I would perk up my ears a little bit more because then maybe you're onto something. But for example, there was this lady who had a dream about my mom, and she dreamed that my mom was pregnant with a baby boy. Okay, at this time, my mom was past the stage in her life where she would even be able to have a baby. Obviously, she wasn't literally going to have a baby boy. But what was happening during that time frame was one of my sisters was getting married. So, of course, this dream was symbolic of my mom getting a son-in-law. So yes, not literally getting a son, but getting a son-in-law. And that makes a lot of sense. My mom was pregnant with a baby boy because she's going to get a son-in-law. I think we can all see the connection there. So it still made sense, the interpretation, but not in a literal way. And just to kind of always keep in mind, your subconscious controls your dreams, and it controls it more than you think. I mean, it's running the show at night. Your conscious mind is not. So your subconscious is going to unlock hidden feelings, hidden messages, answers. That's why I said it is so important to use that time to manifest, to ask your subconscious to help you solve a problem, to work out maybe a negative emotion through a nightmare. So it is good information to have. And it's just going to really help you overall be more productive during your sleep time in general. So to recap, in this pod, we covered how to get a good night's sleep, briefly how sleep works and the different stages of sleep, how to better remember your dreams, and how to utilize your dreams to the fullest extent to get the most out of your interpretation. So I hope you found this helpful. And as always, you can follow me on social media at New Age Goddess on Facebook, and then on the gram at the New Age Goddess, all underscores. So it's going to be the_new_age_goddess on Instagram. And I'll also have my social media handles in the description box. And as always, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Confessions of a New Age Goddess, and I'll see you next time. Thank you and namaste.